What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode weekly real estate podcast interview, where every single week I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and straight up top badasses that are out there looking to dominate their space. So people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, for their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And today, guys, and we do this particular podcast interview every single month. We do it live as a Facebook Live in the GSD Mode Podcast free Facebook group. So if you join that group on Facebook, just look us up, GSD Mode Podcast Facebook group. We'll have a link below wherever you're at so you can jump in there. We do these live. Of course, we put out here on all the other channels, which is what you're tuning into now. But the benefit of jumping on these live is you can ask us any questions. So once every month, I bring on one of my best friends in the real estate industry who's been a huge mentor of mine personally throughout my whole entire real estate career. So today's podcast is with myself and Rhyan Finch. Now, Ryan and I both have been real estate agents that have been able to navigate through up and down markets. Both got our real estate license back in early 2005, right? When the market was booming, we both had to pivot very quickly and adapt to the Great Recession, which equated to one of the greatest housing crashes, if not the greatest housing market crash of all time. And both not just survived, but thrived during that time. So we talk about best practices of what to do as real estate agents during market shifts. And of course, right now we are experiencing one of those shifts with the coronavirus and everything taking place, and also the economic implications that this is having. So we go deep in this. We're answering your guys' question live here in today's live Q&A podcast interview here. Now, real quick, before we jump into today's interview, if you love learning and expanding and learning new skill sets and tools to help you expand your real estate business, which I know you do, and that's why you are here listening to this podcast interview, make sure to check out 41 Tips with Joshua Smith. So again, 41 Tips with joshuasmith.com. These are 41 weekly coaching in-depth tips delivered to your email box once every single week. They're 100% free, nothing being sold in these, you guys. These are strategies and things that I'm utilizing and have utilized for years in my business that have helped me become one of the top realtors and team leaders on the planet. So if you like those, again, check out 41 Tips with joshuasmith.com. Also, if you are looking for the most effective and affordable website CRM platform that exists in the real estate industry, check out perfectstormnow.com. It is the platform that I utilize in my team and in my business and helps us escalate and grow our business each and every year. I'm also a part owner of the program, so I'm able to have a voice in how the development is handled, the direction of the company, the best features to go out there and build out, plus all my personal drips and scripts and everything's built into the system, so you're able to plug into those right away. So if you're looking for a website CRM provider, and again, the most effective and affordable one in the space, check out perfectstormnow.com. All right, guys, let's jump on into today's Q&A special monthly GSD Mode podcast interview. All right. What's up, everybody? Joshua Smith here with my good friend and mentor, Rhyan Finch. And as always, this is our official second Facebook Live here in the GSD Mode private Facebook group. And if you're watching this after the fact, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on the podcast anywhere, make sure that you guys join the GSD Mode private Facebook group. There's a lot of additional content that I'm always posting inside that group. But every month, Ryan and I come on live and do one of these special episodes for you guys with Ryan and I both, where we can answer any questions that you guys are having, that are you experiencing in your business. And right now, man, I know that we've all had a kind of our worlds, our businesses, our lives flipped upside down, man. And that's just how life goes. Who would ever thought it would be, a medical health, virus that would, shake things up in this way, other than I guess Bill Gates predicted it pretty accurately. But, I didn't anticipate this, as I'm sure a lot of you didn't. And Ryan and I are both guys that have been able to shift and adapt in our businesses, regardless of the economic climate, regardless of what's taking place. And, we just wanted to be here for you guys to answer any questions that you have, that you're experiencing right now, how to adapt and shift during changing times. And maybe it's not a comment in relation to how do I shift and adapt, and what's taking place right now with the coronavirus. Maybe it's just something else that you want to ask. We want to be here for you guys in any way we possibly can. But I'm going to lead it off, man. I'm going to lead off by asking Ryan the question, because I know sometimes we got to get a couple questions deep before you guys start pumping in your questions. But I got the GSD Mode Facebook group up. I'm seeing all of your questions. Kara Henshaw, what's up, dude? My good friend Kara Henshaw is on, and she says, hi, guys. So I'm seeing this live time. So post your questions in there, and we'll just knock these out as much as possible. But, Ryan, like, what are you? Because you're a dude that you have your own real estate brokerage, right? You've got your team within the brokerage. You've got the brokerage. Plus now, I mean, you have you franchised your company. So you have franchise owners that you're coaching through all of this throughout the country. And I'm just really curious, man, what are some of the adaptions and shifts and focuses that you guys are doing with this current shift, disruption, crisis, whatever you want to label it, that's taking place right now?
Sure. So there's a couple things. One is the first thing we did was prepare, so we saw it was in China. So we prepared in the event it got here. So, that was a big thing. Obviously that's a moot point for anybody at this point because of where we are. But at the same token, if you're not in New York, you're somewhere else and you got 100 cases, it's a potential it could get worse in your territory, right? So it's all about the preparation. So we prepare so we could run remote. I mean, I think most real estate companies are really able to run remote at this point, but we set that up so we can run everything remote. And then so that was a big factor. The second thing is we had to assess and with assessing everything, you're trying to figure out, but it's changing every day. It was like, man, are we going to have to lay people off? Well, you've got that part of it. Then you find out they got a stimulus package going on. Well, then that's not all the way fully rolled out. And so it leaves all these questions. So there's a lot of those pieces of just assessing. So we assessed, and then we assessed where we were, and then we went into stabilization. So then it's, okay, how do we make sure that this is all going to be right? And how do we sustain this? Some of the big things of like contracts with printer companies, cutting those. We figured pictures will up the price point in which we'll do professional photos. So that limited. And then what are we going to do when potentially couldn't access the house? So that, those were some of the preparations. We prepared for crossing up people with who's going to help with different people. Then we've done meetings with HR and leadership people to kind of say, hey, is everybody right? We went in, and I personally went in to every employee, have one-on-one calls with them, screen time shares. How are you? How's your family? Where are you at? How are you emotionally? Because everything we have to do right now is about leadership. It's leading people through that paralyzation of what's going on. And then you got to deal with that emotional. You can't just go, well, I'm tough, so I don't care, so they should just suck it up. I mean, you can take that attitude and that approach, but it's not always going to work, right? So, because we've got so many different personalities and people out there that one person's scared to death and won't leave the house to go to the grocery store, and you got another one who's not changing what they're doing. And, they're almost judging each other, like, hey, that person won't leave the house. And the other one is, they're at the grocery store. Now you're exposing everybody, right? So you've got these two different things, and I don't think anybody has the right answer, and everybody's got to kind of self-govern. But if you can lead them through that, and how do we lead our leaders, leading people that are leading? So it really doesn't matter who you are. You're either leading your family, you're leading yourself, you're leading your family, you're leading a team, you're leading an office. It's how are you going to lead through that? And it's unheard of, this kind of situation. So nobody really has the crystal ball. But we've got to assess. We've got to continually be assessing, putting our heads together, coming up with better ways to save each other. One of the things, and I know you probably got a question or something that's going to come in, but one of the things that we've pointed out in this is, and I think it's apparent, is people are going to stay in their caves and they're going to feel like they're going to starve because they're not getting any business, especially in this industry, right? If we're not out hunting, we don't have revenue coming in, and then the other part of it is if we go out there, we're kind of scared of what could happen to us if we go. So there's this dance that's going on in us emotionally. And I almost feel like we prepared and shut down in preparation maybe a little too soon, because now people are going to get to the place. It's psychology. They're not going to stay cooped up too much longer. So we're going to run into those kind of challenges where they're going to, by this week coming up, they're going to just say, oh, forget it. I got to get out there. And that's also when it may not be the best time. So.
Yeah, love it, dude. So then in order to assess and make the shifts and do all the thing and really step into action and lead like you have, like all of us that are leaders, which we're all leaders, right, must be doing, man, you gotta be able to, there's a mental component to it, right? Like you can't allow the worry to shut you down and go into inaction mode. And, you got to be able to see clearly amongst chaos, right? Like what are some of the things that you've done? Because this isn't your first crisis that you've had to make these big moves during, how are you controlling what's taking on up here so you're not operating from a place of fear or scarcity and you can see clearly to assess and make the right moves?
That's a good question, and you almost answer it with the presupposition of we've been here before. We've seen this. We in this industry, even for us, some maybe weren't in it in 07, 08, but we've been through a crisis and we've seen things. Even if it's not this in this situation, but I basically have one mindset: the world's not coming to an end. I've made that conclusion in my mind, and if I know it's not coming to an end, like if it's coming to an end, I got to make it's a different assessment. Okay, well, you better just kiss your kids and spend good time with them because, it's over. And I'm like, it's not over. It's a blip, and it will be a blip. It'll seem like everything always seems catastrophic. It's like the concept of, and not dismiss the bigness of this, but but it's like a 8-ounce glass of water is just a glass of water. However, it also can fog up and make density where you can't see in front of your face for like 5 city blocks. The same glass of water turns into this. So it's all about that type of perspective. And so I say it's not going to end. I think the world's not going to be over. So I'm going to go heavier in the stock market. I'm gonna move some money in when it goes down, and when it goes out, I'm gonna cash, and then I'm gonna, and so I expect the volatility to go on, and I'm looking for those opportunities. I'm looking at each of these types of things as an opportunity. I think in my model of business, this is going to make an opportunity because we set up everything. If it can run across the region, it can run across the country. So, and there's other business models that are that way. So if they can scale and run that way, then you're taking this time to not be ascending. You're taking this time to prepare. So you can have the meetings, have the education, growing the people, developing people, building the relationships, all those things. And so, but that doesn't change all the way through because the world's not going to end. If the world's going to end, then you shouldn't be calling your clients, setting up appointments for after this is over, right? So, but if it's not going to, then it's how many can you set, right? And so then it's just getting out of those limiting factors. Well, I got to do it from home. Then fine, set up from home. Oh, I got to do it with the kids around. Well, I had to go set up a second monitor. The daggone little boy was taking my computer every day. I couldn't work. We're fighting over it. I'm like, I got to make a stock trade. He's like, I got to do my math homework. No, I'm just kidding. But that was how we were fighting over it. But now we got him dual monitors. He's in there. He can do it. And, we can check it. And now what I saw is he's learning. He doesn't know how to copy and paste. He learns how to copy and paste. I'm learning that how the fractions break out, right? So I didn't ever have to deal with that. But now that they're home, did you realize that if you draw a picture of a pie and you make the fraction, that this is what happened to me. 3/8, my 3/8 of a fraction was smaller because I made a smaller pie than my other circle. So I said, which of these compared to a 1/4? I said, which of these fractions is larger? And he's like, the 1/4. And I said, no, it's not. And he says, yeah, it is. And because the pie I drew was bigger, like not because the actual fraction. So it was just funny. It was eye-opening to me. I don't know why that seems so weird, but it was eye-opening because everybody sees things differently. And that's what it was saying to me is he actually saw the picture of the pie when it was not the question being asked. And that's what we've got to do here. Train our minds not to see the things that are the shiny ball, the thing that they want you to look at. It's to make you think the world is over and it's coming to an end. But that's a trick. That it's all the what is it? The population, the stock market dropping, or not the population, the employment is dropping, and they're now coming out and saying, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, because people are going to go back to work as soon as we can go back to work. So you see what I'm saying? It's not the thing they want you to think is the biggest deal, but they are making factors.
Yep. Yep. Love it, dude. So then, one thing that you mentioned, and real quick, those of you that are watching this live as we're streaming in the GSD Mode Facebook group, make sure to pump in your questions. I've got them up here. I mean, that's why we do these monthly calls. And look, guys, I can ask Ryan questions all day long, and Ryan and I can jam all day long. And, we do jam a lot. So he's been, one of the most important mentors to me in navigating my real estate business and the success that I've created. So, I pick this dude's brain consistently, right? But we want to be here to support you guys. So as you have questions, pump those in the Facebook group. We're here to ask any questions. But until I start seeing some questions, Armando, our homie Armando says, Ryan Finch, hope you and the family are doing well, brother. But anyway, you talked a moment ago about making cuts, right? And every top producer that I'm talking to is doing the same thing, right? Some I'm talking to have been able to eliminate 20% of their expenses off their P&L. Some I've talked to are 50%, right? But we want to make smart cuts. We got to be kind of careful when it comes to cuts, right? When you are assessing what to cut, what kind of advice would you give those that are watching and listening to this, as far as what to look for in their business to cut, but then also, what not to cut? Because there might be some systems that it's hard to track an ROI to it, but that allow you to be more efficient and do save you a lot of time that leads to more deals or whatever it may be. Like what advice would you have on that?
Yeah, sure. So we went through this on a couple of different things. The first thing is you want to cut things so you don't have to cut salaries, right? So, I mean, if you can cut and keep your people taken care of, that's key because it's going to matter so much in the long run for the trust factor. So, that is one of the things we looked at and we assessed, could we skinny across more people than to cutting one person? And even with mine, the first salary cut was mine. So I just said, I'll use my own money from savings before I'm going to affect somebody else. And nobody's probably ever going to know that, but in the company wise, other than the top people, but the top people are going to know that I would rather protect them than me. The other things are going to be the things that you can add back on quickly, so if something's month to month, that's an easy, quick shutdown. But it also is going to tell you when you're going into deals again, oh, I got a 3-year deal on this. You got a 3-year lease. You can't just cut that, right? So that's not something you can cut. But you got something month to month, that's an easier cut. It's a plus and a minus. The other thing is the things that are not going to be able to be utilized that, if people aren't going in printing is an easy one because they're printing from home, right? So you're cutting things that are of that nature. I think there was something else we cut. We cut like Spokio. We cut, man, I wish I had the list of it. What else did we cut? We did away with post signs. We, instead of doing the post signs for the signs, we're just going to do the signs in the yard because it was just adding $35 per listing that may or may not sell because people may or may not let them in. And then we can always go back and add the post sign in at a time in which that matters, right? And in the same token, if the thing sells in 3 days, you're glad you didn't do $35, installs of a post sign. So, there's all different things that are like that. Things that we could change back is essentially where we started. Things that we changed that weren't going to be needed were things that we changed. We didn't try and change much technology. Surprisingly, we kept with that kind of stuff because that's what we knew people would utilize to drive production. So you don't want to cut off anything that's going to stop a communication. So, we use G Suite, so we don't have Zoom, but if you had a Zoom, I probably wouldn't cut it, but that's what everybody's doing is adding in Zoom if they didn't have Zoom. So, things like that. What about you? What are you doing?
Yeah, I love it, man. I mean, my theory on this, and I've had to do this in each business, but it's if it's either got to be making me money, saving me money, or saving me time, right? And if I can't prove that it's doing one of those three things, it gets the cut. And then defining even above that, like what is an acceptable ROI, let's just say on my marketing that is making me money and giving me an ROI. Well, anything under 400% got the cut immediately, right? So I had to, because I wanted to cut first, then start to scale. And, as I was going through this practice, I'm like, dude, this is just smart business, bro. This is shit I should have been doing all along, right? But it took a crisis to remind me, because it's one of these things where when things get good, we get lackadaisical in certain areas. But then just not in business, also doing that same approach with personal, right? Any luxury items, any vacations I had on the books, and so forth. And not just from a saving standpoint, but also because, we know that this economy is a zero-sum game. Somebody's winning, somebody's losing. It's just how it goes, right? It's a zero-sum game. And we know it's an abundant world and there's so many opportunities out there. So I need to make sure that my focus is right. I can't be in Hawaii for 2 weeks or a month over the next, 9 months or whatever, when I need to be here strategically thinking and be prepared for the opportunities to come. So, just really focusing on those things and, been able to eliminate about 20% across every P&L through each business through expenses without having to lay off a staff member or adjust salaries. And, because if you have the right people, you should be getting a great damn ROI on that investment, right? I mean, I don't know if there's a better ROI out there than great rock star teammates.
There's two things that made me think of that. So do you review your P&L monthly?
Yeah, 100%.
You always have.
Yep.
You just didn't necessarily cut. You just saw what the result was.
Yeah, like I'll give an example of this, right? We had keeping current matters. Great system, right? We just hadn't logged in and used it in like a year. Now, every month when I saw that, it was a reminder of, we need to start utilizing these and providing, this information to our agents and to the clientele out there. And so like every month when I saw it was just a reminder of, okay, let's incorporate this and have a plan to utilize it. The reality is I just didn't do it, right? Whether that be due to being lazy or due to just being busy and
you need to tighten up.
Right. So yeah, exactly. So, but just like you said, but signpost, the little things like that, man. So absolutely love it, dude. So Just Jeet has a question here for us. What are some things we can do to keep business going and get some deals, or is that not the thing to focus on right now?
You're first.
All right. So, and of course, look, I'm going to answer this from like an individual agent perspective, but it really doesn't matter if you're like my teammates are doing the same thing, because a team is just a bunch of agents that are out there producing, right? Like we're really doing the same things, just a team, you're able to do more of it. So in regards to what to focus on, like, is this the right time to focus on? It depends on what area that you're in. I mean, there's some areas like New York or Michigan that agents have been shut down completely, that they're not allowed to go on meetings. They're not recording. They're not doing any of that stuff. So if it's to that extreme of a shutdown, right, the first question I'm always asking myself is, what can I do in this moment to move the needle forward to go out there and progress my business or my life? There's always things to do, right? So if I can't work in the business as much, I'm going to then take advantage of that time to work on the business, meaning making sure my tracking systems is dialed in and tight and developing new trackers if needed, making sure that my CRM is fully dialed in. I know it, I've mastered it, clean it up, come up with new content, so forth, right? Making sure my processes and systems are dialed in and in place, right? Updating my listing and buyer presentation, taking the time to master those and so forth. So those are all examples of working on the business that we can be doing. And regardless, right now in the shift, even if you're in an industry like mine where like we are still able to go out there and do deals, and we just had one of our biggest escrow opening weeks of all time this last week. But I'm still doubling down. I'm doubling down on my self-development, doubling down on my access to my mentors, right? Doubling down on sharpening my skill sets, doubling down on my health and my meditation and all the mental component, doubling down. Like I'm just doubling down on all of those things, working on the business, in the business, having those conversations with friends, family members of, look, you guys, like the first thing that when the, whatever we're going to call it, quarantine was recommended by Trump. So the few days leading up to that, I was in a mastermind in LA and I was off the grid, right? Wasn't answering my phone. I was with one of my mentors and like, I had no idea any of this was going on. I was on LAX airport that Sunday. So this was like just a week and a half or so ago. And I finally turned on my phone, finally started seeing the media, and I'm like, oh shit, right? So first thing I did Monday morning when I saw my wife and my kids was have the conversation of, you're not going to see me much anymore. Right? Or not see me as much as you're accustomed to. I know that you guys are off school for the next month or 2 months. I'd love to be at home more, love to go do some more things together, but like, this is go time, man, right? And of course we're still scheduling family time. I'm not trying to say that, I'm not making the time for that. It's just, I'm going back to my 18-hour work days and working 7 days a week, working a little bit less on the weekends, but just buckling down to make the time and make the room for all of these things so I can step up and lead and go out there and capitalize on these opportunities. Because if you look at this, right now, I'm not like putting the tinfoil hat on thinking that the government created this virus, right? By no means do I think that, right? But government was the first big business to really exist, right? And the government knows how to capitalize on a crisis. So do other industries. Like look at Jeff Bezos at Amazon. right now, who's cleaning up. So there's a lot of opportunities to go out there in your business and to clean up. So I got to be prepared. I got to be ready to capitalize on these. So working on the business is critical. Then from there, for those of you that are in areas like most of us that the world hasn't completely shut down, real estate agents are considered an essential to life business, right? And Ryan alluded to this earlier. It's understanding what your main KPI is, right? So for now, typically we're paying attention to, okay, our daily dials, daily appointments set, right? Our daily dials, daily conversation, our daily appointments set. Those are key indicators that we're typically looking at each and every day. However, the conversations and dials right now, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but those may dramatically change during this crisis. So the main thing that we're paying attention to is the appointment set. That shouldn't be changing. Now, that might mean you have to do double or triple the amount of dials, right? And the one thing I'm telling all my agents, you guys, is treat your database, right? Your CRM database as your community. Be there for your community, man. You should be working the hell out of that community. And yeah, we're shifting the conversation. Right? So when we're calling everybody in our database, it's not or you want to check in, see how your home search is going, see if there's anything I can help you with your real estate needs, right? Like we're not leading with those by any means with that conversation. That conversation is, hey, just reaching out to everybody that's in my database and just wanted to check in and see how you and your family are doing during this time, man. You guys doing okay? Right? Like you got to show more empathy and compassion than ever before. And then depending on how that conversation goes, right? If somebody is like my brother's in the restaurant industry, he's a chef, and his restaurant has been closed down. Now they're still doing to-goes and some other things, so he still has a job, but right? Like who knows for how long, right? So now if somebody's I'm having that conversation with somebody in my community, AKA my database, I'm not going to make it about real estate, man. They got too many fears. I'm just there to support them. I'm letting them know that, hey, I'm not just here to be a realtor. I'm here to be your resource and friend for life. So whatever it is that you need, even if it's just somebody to talk to vent to, whatever it is that you need, I'm here for you. Now, if that conversation is somebody that's like, hey, yeah, no, work's still busy. It's an adjustment working from home, being with the family, right? But we're enjoying it. Maybe they're telling me stories like Ryan just shared with him and his son, right? Then after I have that check-in conversation, then it's hey, while I have you on the phone, right, I can pivot to, do you have any questions about what's taking place with the real estate market, how this has impacted the real estate market thus far, my opinion on, what the future looks like. Do you have any real estate needs or questions I can answer for you while I have you on the phone, right? So we'll pivot for those. But you got to understand that there is, let's just say that unemployment rate does surge to 20%. Right now it's about 10% or so, which is about the same as it was during 2008, 2009, right? Now, let's just say it does surge to 20%, which we're talking, Great Depression unemployment rates. That still means 80% of people out there have a job, right? And so there's always a percentage of people that need to buy and sell real estate and that can't afford to put their life on pause because of some virus or crisis taking place, right? So those are the people that we're identifying. The people that aren't in that situation, we're still there to support them, but in a different way, right? The people that are raising their hand through our conversations that do have a need to buy in real estate, sell real estate, right? We're there to support them in a different way. Now, we've also adapted very quickly to Zoom listing presentations, right? Being able to educate them, because there's two main objections and concerns that we're seeing from our buyers and sellers out there right now that do have a need right now, which is one, they're worried like, hey, nobody's buying homes right now. Now, we know that that's not the case. Low interest rates, right? We can pull that data and say, hey, look, in the last 7 days, here's how many homes went under contract, right? So we're able to deliver that data, talk about how their competition, other listings, have that same mindset they're having right now, but are pulling their home out the market. So you have less competition. Buyers are still buying, at solid rates. So now might be the opportune time to list your home on the market, especially before, who knows what's going to happen economically after this, right? Like right now they have a chance to still capitalize on the high price points that people are still paying, right? Or the whatever, because we haven't seen the price drops impact yet. And who knows if that's going to come, right? But offering Zoom listing presentation, because the second part of it isn't just financial and economics, right? It's about the nervousness of the susceptibility to exposing them and their families to this virus, right? So then it's, hey, we have solutions, right? We can do a Zoom listing presentation, explain how that works, and it can be almost just like I'm sitting across your kitchen table as we normally do these. If you feel more comfortable doing that, we can set that up, right? We're doing things of, hey, anytime a buyer wants to see your property, number one, we're going to get the pre-qualification up front so we can vet them and talk with their lender and make sure that they truly are a solid, ready, willing, able buyer today in this market. Number two, we can offer to them to go to the home first. So I'll go to the home, get the buyer's agent and their agent on their phones, and we'll do a FaceTime where I can show them anything that they want to see, right, inside your home. Now, there's a huge likelihood that if they do want to write an offer in your home, that they are still going to want to see it before. But at this point, we know it's about as hot of a buyer as you can imagine that you're going to get out there. Right, I'll meet them here before. I'll supply the booties, the gloves. Right, I'll sanitize everything once they leave. I'll make sure they don't touch anything, and so forth. So we're minimizing their concerns. And here's the thing, dude. Most of our listings and buyers, because we've done the same thing on the buy side, are stoked, excited about that. That does the job. And again, this isn't manipulation. This is for those that have a need right now that can't put their life on pause. Right. But then for those that still choose to pause. Right? The fact that you've come up with all of these things to kind of ease their mind and help them through this situation, dude, they're going to go with you as long as you do your job and continue to follow up. So believe it or not, man, we're still cranking open houses, which we're allowed to in our marketplace. I was talking to a agent on my team yesterday that had 7 couples through. This is on a Thursday, 7 couples through. And that was like halfway through our open house, right? So there's less people coming through, but they are more serious. So we're still gaining a lot of clientele through open houses. Facebook ads right now, dude, record cost per leads. You got more people at home dumb scrolling right now than ever before, man. Right? So we're capitalizing on that. And, to summarize it, that's what we're doing to shift and adapt to that. So sorry, I went long-winded there, but I wanted to give the full answer.
That was great. That was a lot of good info and good content.
Yep. Is there anything that you want to add, Ryan?
A couple of things hit me when you were talking about things. But one of them is don't assume that everybody has the same mindset, right? So in assuming, like, when you call somebody about, hey, I know you probably don't want to see homes right now. Like, I wouldn't assume that. I mean, you don't know that they're going to be like, yeah, I'm quarantined. For everybody you call, like you said, there's a percentage of people that have a need, ready to go, and go, hey, I'm glad you talked to me. The other thing is I would say this is a good time to interrupt the pattern. If you weren't doing your mailers to your sphere of influence, if you weren't, getting organized on your things, I mean, now is the time to interrupt that, but at the same token, I got a feeling that people are going to have to want to interrupt their pattern. Meaning, I have a thing in the garage that needs to be organized. And I have time to do it. Well, kind of. But I didn't do it before, and I'm not doing it now because I didn't think it was valuable. I don't think it's a good use of time, even though it should be done. So when I'm saying that, I'm saying you can interrupt the pattern of things that whatever you think is a good use of time, you should be doing now when you're saying, what do I work on in my business? Figure out what you were wasting time on before. What were you doing in the hours? Because now you have time to think about it. So taking the time to think about it and assess that. And I would still get dressed. I mean, I think there are people that are going to stay in their pajamas all day, and your results are going to follow that. So that's going to be a key factor. The other thing is you're still going to do business and do it differently. And when you do it differently, it can be, you're still working through a process. So what am I going to do? Well, what do you normally do? I generate leads, I contact leads, I set appointments, I write contracts, I close deals. That's the process that you're working through. And you just got to figure out where the bottleneck is. And don't assume everybody thinks that they won't meet. So now that bottlenecks you. But if you need to, build up to that process and that part of the process, and then you can take it from there afterward. The other thing is that, and I don't think everybody fully comprehends or understands this, but as soon as this stimulus bill is signed and done, 3 million people go back to work. And the reason is, and I don't know, maybe you knew this or didn't, but as soon as they do, it's because I want everybody on payroll that I can, because I get 2.5 times the amount of money as a loan that, as long as I keep them employed, makes it a grant where I don't have to pay it back. So now I get the money to take me through, which keeps them employed, which allows them to close on a property if they were under contract, right? Because they can't close because they don't have a job. And then all of that now drives revenue back in to all the money just filters all the way down and through. Then it comes into the businesses drive the stocks. And so all of that kind of, now the stock market follows, everything kind of follows through with this bill. And so it's the grand scheme of understanding how all that works. So that's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Nobody has a crystal ball, but I think it drives all that, and the stock market and all that's going to follow through and go up with it. I'm going to throw out one other little tidbit just so I can say I was right in case I am right. But in this stimulus, it talks about a digital coin. It's been 49 years since we came off the gold standard. Nothing has ever made it more than 50 years since being on a gold standard. If you want to figure out a way to make money, it could be in the stock market. It could be in the currency market. So something along those lines is prime for a disruption. There's a US dollar digital coin. I bet they pay out stimuluses in a digital to get people on that type of track and to get people using digital. And the reason this is their benefit is they've got to make money back somehow. How do they do that? They get everybody off a cash basis, which means that's tax-free money. When people are paid under the table, if everything goes off of that dollar bill and onto a digital currency, they can track everything that moves. So that's just my opinion. That's the way I see it. If I'm them running a business, which the government is essentially a business, this is a prime setup for that at the exact right time. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts. So anyway, Bitcoin, all of those coins start skyrocketing because once one currency comes in, all of them come in. But well, maybe not all of them. You get the idea. Sorry, I know that was off target, but if you got some money to put somewhere, might as well try it. Yeah, I mean, better to sit in the bank account anyway.
Love it, dude. Love it, man. So Chris Saunders says, what prospecting activities are you pushing your agents to do right now?
You're first.
You're okay. First. So look, guys, like, this is, when I say that, this is it's not a difficult question, but it's like in my team, with the 74 agents that I have on my team, everybody's got, what I'm pushing them to do is what they're good at, right? Like everybody's got, I have some agents that are calling for sell by owners or circle prospecting that are calling, expireds. I have some agents doing Facebook ads, some doing, open houses. My two favorite things to do are open houses and Facebook ads, right? It's open houses, quickest way to now money. Open house, Facebook ads, right, is something that's so insanely scalable and extremely effective. And I've yet to find any online marketing source that you get a better ROI on those things. So those are my two favorite things that I'm really just always driving and pushing and encouraging my agents to do. Now, luckily, we are in a market right now that open houses we're still having success with. We're normally used to getting 75 people through an open house or 50 people through an open house, which might correlate to 20 to 30 groups, like couples, leads, right? And that, that's down to fifth, but that's okay, right? Because as Ryan stated earlier, about not assuming the mindset of others, right? And this isn't about the consumer out there. This is about other real estate agents. Yeah, there's a less of a percentage of people buying and selling right now, but I can promise you this is a shit ton less of a percentage of agents that are working out there right now. They're burying their head in the sand. They're glued to the media, right? They're in huge fear, scarcity mode, and they're going to start dropping out like flies. So it's a beautiful thing, right? Because it creates more opportunities for us that are true professionals that aren't, amateurs and don't treat this as a hobby, right? So it starts to weed that out. So don't think that the business isn't out there. There's actually more business out there right now because there's less agents actually working, right? So I would look at, man, what have you had a ton of success with in the past historically? What's been tracked? What's been measured? Where have your deals come from in the past? And push as hard as you possibly can the things that aren't disrupted right now during this market. Now, if we get pushed off of or shut down from doing open houses, let's just say, right? Well, we continue doing our Facebook ads, right? And we can continue working the hell out of our database. As I mentioned earlier, that's our community, right? So working your database, following your leads effectively, like we all should be, doing during these times and anytime. So really pushing, towards those. And there's other ways to adapt. You can start doing virtual open houses. I know some agents doing that they're doing an open house, they're streaming live into their Facebook business page, and anybody that wants to see anything specific, they're going and just showing them those specific things, answering questions, there's a lot of ways to adapt, but I would first start with what are your strengths, what's working, what's been proven to work, and see if you can crank the levers on those and or adapt those to create success.
It's funny, when the question and asking is, what are you pushing your agents to do? We try to look at it more as a long leading. And I say that because it means we don't tell them. If we tell you what to do, then your brain shuts down. You'll always wait to be told what to do. And so we've always done it in a way that we ask questions of, what do you think you should be doing? And the other part of that is because in a leadership role, you can't win, man. I mean, because if you said, hey, everybody get out there and sell real estate, everybody do open house, you got a percentage of people that are going, you're a jerk. You don't care about my health, right? And it's like, well, no, I care about it. Here's how I'm trying to help you. But, if you tell everybody to stay home, then then the other people are like, oh my gosh. So anyway, you can't win in that part of this. So the only goal and all of it is in a mindset of being able to do it. And I know you already hit on all the these are actionable steps you can do. So, and those are great ideas. And I think that's probably what he's hoping to take away in that question. But the other part is just understanding it in a culture of our business and industry is we got to just make sure that we're not shooting arrows at whoever's trying. So, I don't care if it's presidential, it's your manager in your office, your team leader, whatever it is, they're only telling and doing whatever they can to be in the best. And if it's not the best for you, then, obviously don't do it. And if you're in a position where you're trying to lead, do not get paralyzed to not lead and say, hey, what could you be doing right now, right? So asking that question, every time you ask somebody a question, their brain goes into overdrive to work it. So me even asking that question now goes into everybody, and they're going to answer their own question. And it's going to be, what should you be doing right now? What am I not doing that I should be doing? What could I be doing that this is going to give me an opportunity to do? What do I want the future to look like in my business? Because whatever you want the future to look like works backwards to tell you exactly what you should be working on today. So, and if it's your own health and safety, then you need to preserve. If it's that you need to be doing open houses because you can, then you should. If it's going out there and not shaking hands but still operating the same way, if it's operating with gloves and doing the same thing, if it's using a respirator, so there's any number of things that you can do that doesn't disrupt what you already were doing. So you can still do those same things. One of the things I didn't touch on this earlier is, and this is kind of what I've led them to, is saying what listings will not have a problem selling right now if somebody is buying. And the answer is a vacant property. Vacant properties are not really a problem for somebody to go in. They just don't have the same connotation of somebody else. They don't feel like they're stepping on the toes of the person that is in the home, and the person in the home doesn't feel like someone's coming in, bringing in any kind of germs, right? So vacant homes. Well, who has vacant homes? Bank-owned properties have vacant homes. Investors have vacant homes. You can write offers on homes and make them contingent and never even go in the home. So remember, in the process, your goal is to get a lead, to get an appointment, to write a contract. Well, if you can skip past an appointment, jump straight to writing offers all day long, why not? And in this case, somebody's got to sell, and they wanted $200,000 for the house, and now they get an offer for $150,000 because they just got to sell. And it's probably taking advantage of a situation, but for all you know, that's helping them. You don't know what it is they need, but making investor offers, getting investors to list properties with you, because they're dying if they can't put a property on the market and get it sold. But they're going to put it out there. I think all of us have a listing inventory shortage. So driving them to doing that has really been a key thing. Investor offers, we're ratifying, it's just same thing you said, we're ratifying deals very similarly the same. I don't know if they're going in the properties or not. And some of them I don't think they are. And some of the listings they're on the market, and they're doing it with an extension of a contingency period. So there's any number of ways to be doing the same thing, but you got to be driving, if you're doing anything, doing the process, whether it's at remote or in person. That's up to to each person to govern themselves accordingly. But making that decision is the best way to do it. And that's what we lead. We lead them to doing what it is that they could be doing or should have been doing already, just better and different.
Powerful stuff, dude. And I just want to say this before I get into the next question, because I thought about it, but I forgot to say it earlier. And I just want to, something I think that's important to add when it comes to working in your business, working on the business, make sure that you guys are also leading your vendor partners. And what I mean by that is we are communicating with our vendor partners almost on a daily basis, or home inspectors or termite inspectors, our lenders, right? I mean, checking in on them, seeing how they're doing, right? Making sure that they're able to still be operational, coming up with ways that they can be protected. And then that they can also, like just an example, like history of doing business would be a lot of our buyers wanted to be there during the home inspection, right? Or at least show up at the end to have a conversation with the home inspector. Right now we've adapted to let the inspector go in there and do its thing, right? And then in the evening, we'll jump on a Zoom call and then they'll go through the report all together with us, right? Like be proactive. It's not just about leading us and our clients, also, be there in a leader standpoint for your vendors as well, because obviously we all sink and swim together through this. So next question from Anthony is, what leads should I be focusing on now? Absentee, probate, etc. Now, Ryan and I already, that was really similar to the last question that we already hit on. So, but I do want to add this, you guys, is, the first thing that I do, other than, I kind of have like a 7-step game plan that I'm following right now, right? Number 1 is optimizing my health. Number 2, so my health, meaning my nutrition, my breath work, my meditation. Number 2, making sure I'm optimizing my mindset, because I need both those things. I need to be very mentally clear, physically healthy. Well, my lungs healthy right now, especially, right, during this time. So that's 1 and 2, right? The third thing is, as I mentioned before, is that Ryan and I talked about, of making smart cuts inside of our business, right? Well, that's just waste, where we can be smarter and tighten down. The fourth thing then is adapting to the current consumer, right? Which we've already talked about. That is the Zoom presentations, identifying the people that do have the need right now, and all those things that we've already talked about here on this one. Then from there, I start to see how I can scale, right? Like what can I scale up inside my business, and so forth. But the last thing of all of the steps that I'm following right now is to start to then pivot where the business is going, right? So, and this is where this next question really comes into play, of absentee owners, probate, short sales, REOs, right? Should we start pivoting to those? And look, right now I'm not amping up my short sale marketing yet, right? And then there's a couple reasons for that, right? In my marketplace, we still have less than 2 months of inventory. There's still a lot of huge demand. And in my opinion, it's a little premature for me to start putting a lot of time, energy, and money into something that I don't know, because the stimulus package hasn't been released yet. Look, if businesses start opening in 2 weeks again, and these 8 million restaurant workers all have jobs again, and so forth, right? This could have just been a blip, like maybe a natural disaster that lasted for a few months and then life was back to normal, right? So, but I'm watching that very closely. So what I am being proactive with is having conversations with my staff on making sure that we have the infrastructure in place. Like it is an example this time around, one of my regrets in the last market crash was I focused so much just on REO, which was a great pillar of business for me, right? But I should have scaled my short sale division up to completely entirely different levels. We're doing a lot of short sales, but I want to have my short sale division be 10x larger than my REO division, because I can control them, right? I'm not at the liberty of an asset manager. Ryan and I both kind of had our worlds disrupted a little bit in the REO, world, where you build a whole infrastructure based off one thing, and then one night somebody comes and makes a decision and it changes everything overnight, and boom, it totally changes. At one point I had about 350 REO assets, and Fannie Mae was feeding me about 80 a month. Well, then overnight they came out with a spread the wealth, we're going to do a 25 cap, right? Well, that disrupted a lot of things. I wouldn't have that same disruption with short sales, right? It's all up to me to go out there and hunt and get those short sales, right? So I'm personally setting up the infrastructure, like we're doing applications for REOs and so forth, like putting those out, because that doesn't really take any time or focus. I mean, it's a couple minutes a day. But with short sales, I'm not pumping out any marketing. We are just looking to make sure that we can pivot to the, negotiation, have a short sale negotiation staff department and so forth, if and when that time comes. One thing that's working extremely well for us, this is a new lead source that we just discovered, Home Partners of America. So Home Partners of America, you guys, is, and the person that we learned this from, Kim Barber, she's coming out with some training. She's been my mentor on this. So I'll let you guys know when her training's out. It'll be about a week or two before it's out. But she's like one of the top Home Partners of America agents in the country, and just out of demand from so many people hitting her up. And like, I flew her out here to train, my top agents for like 3 days on this process. And we put our first deal under contract within 5 days with zero ad spend following this. We put 2 more under contract in less than 30 days. And we're just now really scaling this up. So what Home Partners of America is they are a fund, right? So think of it as, and they were started during the last recession, 2008. And they bought 16,000 properties nationwide now. So think of them as, it's kind of like a reverse investor, right? Most investors that are buying buy and holds, it's like, let's go find the property, then find the tenant. So what they're doing is they're finding the tenant first. So it's my job as the agent to go find them somebody that's interested in a rent to own or just a rental, right? We get them pre-qualified, which is a hell of a lot easier than getting pre-qualified for a mortgage because they're pre-qualifying from rent through Home Partners of America. I think I said Home Property. It's Home Partners of America. Website's homepartners.com if you guys want to check it out. And they don't also take a split or a commission like Zillow or OpCity or Open Door or so forth, right? So you get your 100% of your commission. And they're your client, right? So they're cash buyers, they're your client. But then once the tenant's approved, right, then they tell us, okay, here's what the tenant is approved for. Now the tenant gets to go out there and pick out the house that they're buying, right? They buy the house. You represent Home Partners of America. It's a cash deal. And the tenant has up to 5 years at preset prices to buy that house back, right? And it's a win-win for everybody. And, we're just having conversations with them of are they still buying? Because we saw Open Door just pull out in the marketplace, in my marketplace at least. And they canceled 4,800 contracts overnight, right, that they're in a contract with. Zillow's pulled out from their iBuyer platform. I know a lot of markets, realtor.com or OpCity, whatever you want to call it, is pulled out of their platform. So I wanted to make sure these guys were still buying, and they've been prepared. Like I said, they were born in 2008 during the last recession. So they've been waiting for this. They've been praying for this, right? So these guys are buying like no other. So that's how we're pivoting, right? But we don't want to also lose our focus on our traditional clients that have a need, because over time, slowly, right? Just like, okay, when 2008, 2009 hit, I didn't drop my traditional clients. I just doubled down my work, efforts and served my traditional clients as I was prospecting hard for short sales and REOs, right? And then eventually, like here's short sale REOs, eventually traditional clients went down and these slowly went up and replaced it. Same thing when the market transitioned back into a traditional market, right? So just wanted to share that with you. And that's, I guess, my overall response to that question. I don't know if you have anything that you want to add to that, Ryan.
And the question, just because you put out so much information, my brain starts going into what you're saying, and I almost forget what the original question was, but I think it was, what leads should I follow up on, right?
Yeah, I mean, like what lead sources specifically, and I think they didn't say this specifically in the question, but because they're talking about probate, absentee owners, and so forth, which does, might help them get more vacant properties like you were talking about. But if they were to add new lead sources right now, what would your recommendation be?
It's a huge advantage to you and I being in different markets because, your take on Zillow and OpCity is different than mine because they're doing different things in your market than they are in mine. So, I actually, and maybe they're in different markets. So this is just probably a good takeaway then is in Zillow, they cut half the prices. So if they were charging, if you were a Zillow, and again, this almost becomes political. Some people are for Zillow, some are against it. But if you're for Zillow and you're spending $4,000, you just now paid $2,000. A good play on that is, how do you go in and do a 6-month contract with them today at $2,000 and say, hey, I tell you what, I'll lock it in. Now it's safe for them, right? Because they just shorted their stock to halfway. You're going to buy their market, but now they've got a contract for revenue, and that's what's important to them. So you can go in with your cable company, your power company, almost anybody, and go in and do it. Well, it's the same thing here. If you want to call leads, people like Zillow leads, and if you can now get your cost down to half price, how many more can you get? OpCity, very similarly, agents, like you said earlier, slow down. OpCity, we're getting more of them, so we can accept more of them. And with that is, if you put more leads into OpCity, you get more out. So you can put more in, it automatically populates you more out. So anyway, we've been dumping more into that and upping our Zillow because it's now exponentially more. So for more you put in, you get that many more out, more than you used to, because there's less competition, like you mentioned earlier. And the Zillow, the results, we were just having astronomical, and now we have we have people. I mean, the amount of agents we have doing it is still similarly the same. Those go-getters are go-getters, and so they're just now getting it at half price. So going and touching on the other thing you talked about, which is what we did when you mentioned we came out of recently more into REO. What's the same? You can have where you're working on Zillows and investors, and you can have you got if it's an iBuy program, you essentially can build a business around every one of these categories. And so if you're working in one of these lanes, you can go stay working in that lane. But I would probably look, and I think people are going to start doing this, is partnering up. How do you get with some other agent in your market and tackle both of them? Because now you're hedging your bets. So if you're going to go after probates and they're going to go after investors, and y'all can figure out a way to piggyback off each other, and then if one hits this month, the next one hits this month, or if it's Zillows and Op Cities, or Zillows and investors, or listings to buyers. And so because everybody has different strengths and weaknesses, it's not necessarily always the lead type. It may be the person's ability for that lead type. You know, some people don't know investor numbers. They go out there and just send out a property, say, hey, buy this property for 150,000 when it's 200 grand, needs 30 grand worth of work. And the investor's going, no, that doesn't make sense. You're wasting my time. Versus somebody else knows exactly what that property should be bought at, you know, and I think that plays into the REO side of the market too, because if you can figure out whether you should repair properties or not is a key. So.
Love it, dude. So this comes from Chris Saunders again, who had a question previously. So he says, thanks, guys. If you have time, what would you say the biggest opportunities that you see that we should be taking advantage of right now? So I would just say this. Like on the grand scheme of things, the biggest opportunities that I see now, we don't know what all the opportunities are that are going to exist, right? But it is the percentage of people that shut down during a crisis, right? Versus the smaller percentage that do the work, right? That keep their staying healthy, that are, now I'm a huge believer in breath work and meditation, especially for keeping extremely calm, and so forth. But the biggest opportunity I see and what I'm doing right now is making sure that mentally I am clear amongst the chaos so I can see all the opportunities that my competitors can't see. But then at the same time, as we were talking about the cuts, right? When I went to the extreme of saying we're canceling vacations, we're canceling, even though I can afford these things right now, I'm putting myself in a position so I can do what my competitors can't, right? You zig while they zag. As an example, one of my business mentors, now this dude just sold one of his companies, or his most recent company, for $792 million. So he's well off, right? He's 42 years old. And he's created and exited from over $1 billion of companies at this point, right? And very high net worth. And his son asks him, his son's 11. His son asked him the other day for $25. He said, no, son, I can't give you the $25 right now. Right now, we need to practice restriction. So when the time is right, we are in a position to create that much more wealth. Now, of course, he can afford the $25, right? It's more of a learning lesson for his son, right? But when he shared that story with me, it just hit home on such a powerful level of the level that I must be restricting from so I can be in that opportunity to pounce. I want to be able to amp up my marketing in a smart way when my competitors aren't marketing, which Ryan just kind of talked about with that he's experiencing right now. Right? I want to be able to hire talented staff, maybe even at a discounted price, as all my competitors are laying off that staff. Right? I want to be able to make the moves that they can't. I want to be the firefighter running in when they're running out.
I love it.
That's where I see the biggest opportunity, because I'm not going to speak of, oh man, REO. Oh, for sure it's going to be REO. Well, kind of don't know yet, right? So we'll have to wait to see what that comes. But the biggest opportunity is being fucking prepared mentally and financially. And mentally, it's so important because you got to be able not just to be clear, but you got to see the opportunity and you got to have the mental capacity to strategically think. So I've been cutting, so many things outside of even work-related activities, just so I have thinking time every day, more thinking time, more solitude, right? That's where I see the biggest opportunities. You got anything you want to add there, Ryan?
I loved all. I really resonate. I'm really in the same mindset as you. Can you just ask the question? I'm sorry. I get listening to you. I really
You're
forget.
So full of shit.
I
just planned it.
I'm not thinking about answering. Like, I'm really listening to what you're saying. Like, I'm not preparing for my response, but I'm listening to what you're saying. What was the question? One more time?
Just at a high level, what do you think that the biggest opportunity, right now to take advantage of is?
Yeah, for me, I've looked at a couple of them and I've mentioned them, but it really comes down to, and I really started looking at this, there's certain people that haven't ever come into this kind of volatility. And so it causes all that panic. And I was telling Randy the other day, we were talking, I said, I'm insecure right now. And she's like, why? I said, because I'm so at peace. I said, I should be panicking. And I don't feel like I'm panicking. I feel like I have x-ray goggles into what is going on. And I was like, I don't know if it's the blessing of God. I don't know if it's because we've been here before. I don't know if it's because I've seen it so many times and it's so many opportunities. There's going to be so many opportunities. The problem is do you have what it takes to go running into that fire? And so it's not a matter of opportunities. Fine, buy into some Coinbase stuff, buy into some stocks. I said, I'll double down on my stocks. I actually was not in the market when it hit the bottom. I was waiting for this. Everything I was doing was waiting, because you don't go in when it's going up, you go in when it's going down. But in most people, it's like they're tiptoeing. Imagine these waters, the Bible story, this guy that he's like tiptoeing into this water. The water will heal him, but he can't get in there, and he needs help getting in there. And it takes the faith that going into it is gonna result in what you want. When you talk about you being the firefighter, the result of going my life being lost is not greater than the lives I can save. So it's the thought pattern, all that is somebody has to go in running into the fire to save lives. And if you're not the one running into the fire, running into the opportunities, then either one, you didn't prepare ahead of time like you talked about, or two is I'm not willing to take the loss of whatever it is. So it's really assessing, is the win greater than the loss? And that's going to determine whether you're going to take the opportunity. So right now, I'm telling you, I think the bill just passed literally when we were talking. So I saw the market had shot up on my phone. So anyway, but that's the kind of thing that you'll have to look into. It's doubling down on the Zillow ads because, again, you don't think the market is that we're done for. So it's really just taking those opportunities. The other part of it is you got to play out the other side of the opportunity. So every opportunity has an equal and opposite. So which means you can not lose anything not getting in the stock market. You can not lose anything not doubling down on leads. If you decide not to spend money on leads, you're perfectly fine doing that, right? Until later comes and you go, oh, now I don't have any revenue, right? And so when you're talking about our competitors, they're shrinking and not spending money. I'm not spending money on the printer because we can figure that out. I'm not spending money on business because I need that revenue tomorrow. And in our business, you don't see it today. It's not an immediate thing. And that's what's so scary in this business, in this industry, is people stepping into it. So doubling down on leads, but at a good deal. Find the opportunity where you can get them for less. Find the opportunity. You just said it in the off thing is more people are scrolling through Facebook now than they would normally. So you're going to get more ROI on that spend than you normally would, right? And so man, sitting back and looking at all those and analyzing them and go, the people that are at the top did that over and 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 over. And there are people that have shot up to the top and they're at the bottom now, right? I mean, we've all seen that in business and people, and nobody wants to be that person. But if you want to be a leader in the industry, you set one foot in front of the other. By spending money on the lead system, it generates revenue for your people. If we are really essential personnel, and I believe we are, our mortgage people count on us, our vendors count on us, our title people, our agents count on us. We have to spend money and drive and lead through that to get people through this, to get the momentum building. And if you do it, you're building the momentum. So you're essentially supporting your own cause. I mean, that's really what it would come down to. You're supporting your own cause.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, I always tell people, you want to save lives, give blood, and get into real estate. Yeah, right. I mean, there's over 30 lives impacted per every transaction that we do.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's not counting the commission that you make, but on average, there's $70,000 of income that's infused into the country's GDP. Right, from every home that you sell. Like it impacts so many lives, and I know a lot of realtors. I know a lot of realtors don't feel sometimes that what I'm doing matters, but it absolutely matters. you know, right? I mean, we're what, 60 to 70% of the entire economy's GDP, you know, right? Like it makes a massive difference, man. I love what you just said there, dude. So I got a question for you. At what point do you see yourself, just because you have as much experience as anybody that I know or met when it comes to REO, you know, at what point is there an indicator that you're watching, whether it's inventory rates or what? But for those that are thinking, man, you know, when do I know it's time to start focusing on that source in my business? Like, what kind of recommendation would you give them?
What source? Are you just
For REO specifically?
Oh, REO?
Yeah.
I don't see it happening. I don't think that that's going to go. You got so many indicators right now. One, if you just go to the mortgage company and tell them you don't want to pay your payment for a year, you don't have to. You can go to your vendor. Now the challenge is actually who's holding the bag. So is it Fannie Mae or is it going to be the servicer? So right now, currently as it stands, if you go to Bank of America and tell them you want to defer for a year, they lose that cash flow but still have the servicing part of it, from my understanding. So which means they're caught holding the bag. So now they don't want to put money out. On the same token, a buyer goes and closes on a house today, can turn around next month and say, hey, I can't pay the payment because of the coronavirus. The coronavirus could be come and gone, and now it's a year's worth of not paying. Well, if they're not paying for a year, you're a year out from that coming in and taking place. And we have no idea what a month from now is going to look like, let alone a year from now. And currently, inventory is at an astronomical low rate. So you got low inventory and deferred payments. Why are we looking at REOs? I'm trying to figure that out because everybody keeps saying that kind of thing. I said, I don't get it. You have to be able to foreclose. The courts are closed. You can't foreclose. You can't even evict somebody for not paying rent. So all of those indicators are saying, hey, you're good. You're going to be fine. And they're doing that to save. And then on top of it, they're throwing money back into the market to all the people for their losses. And it may not equate, but if you're furloughed, you're getting half of your pay plus a bonus amount of money, right? So that's coming in. And it's just, there's just too many things that are going to the good. It's opposite. I think we're going to come out more on top than they're on the other. So maybe I'm wrong, but I can't see REO coming up to be a part of the equation, or I missed something. Maybe I did, but I'm just taking in all the data as much as I know personally, and that's just my output. What did I miss? Did I miss something?
You know, none of us have a crystal ball, dude. So none of us know, you know, right? I mean, there's multiple different camps on it. And my whole approach, dude, is I just don't speculate, you know, right? Like for me, I know, at least in my marketplace, once we start seeing 6 to 7 months of inventory, right? We start seeing a lot more short sales. Once we get to 7 or 8 months, we start seeing REO. So I just time out inventory rates, you know, right? Right now we still have 2 months of inventory. Let's just say inventory is growing by half a month every month. Right. Well, then I can start doing the math that, okay, if this continues, you know, in 8 months, right, we see more REOs, you know, right. 6 months when I see that, based on the data, the path is in the math, right. Based on that data, when I know that I'm about 6 months out, that's the point where I get hardcore prospecting with them. Now, the other thing with this though is, you know, REO may not return to what it did in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, whatever that gap. But if we take that blip out of the timeline, you know, REO has been pretty consistent. There's always a percentage of people that are defaulting, sure. You know, right? I mean, we were talking with a dude the other day that's in Florida that is doing $30 million a year in REO. He does about $100 million a year in his team, but $30 million from REO, $40 million last year from hedge funds and the rest of traditional business, even though 2019 was one of the strongest real estate, you know, markets that ever existed. So, you know, my take on it right now for people is REO is a great leg to add to your business. You know, right? But the flow could be a lot less. You may only be getting 2 or 3 properties a month versus, you know, when it does tank. But I'm with you in that. I'm not with you in that I don't have the knowledge and an opinion or a belief of where this is going to go. I'm with you in that it's not part of my focus yet, as far as like I'm not preparing for it yet, but I'm watching the inventory rates closely. All right, let's see here. I think we got another comment here. Maybe not. All right, man. I don't think we have any other comments that I can see in here unless I'm missing something. If we did miss any comments, it's kind of hard for me to scroll down and see all of these. I don't know why these Facebook Lives make it that way, but I'm 99.9% confident we got every single comment that you guys had through here. If we, for some reason, didn't, leave your comment afterwards. I'll make note of that, and Ryan and I can hit it on the next live that we do next month. So remember, you guys, we do these. This will be posted everywhere, so everybody can see this on YouTube and anywhere that you're listening to the podcast. But if you want to jump on these lives, see them 2-3 weeks before it goes out anywhere else, plus have the ability to ask Ryan and I any of your questions, just like so many of the great questions today, make sure to join the GSD Mode podcast private Facebook group. So you can jump in here on these, and we always post it the week before that we're doing this. Ryan, truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here, dude. For those that don't know, that haven't been following you, Ryan, I mean, dude, you're running your real estate brokerage, a highly successful brokerage there in Virginia Beach, but you're also a franchise owner, so you have opportunities, and you got a lot of other real estate agents that are choosing to be broker owners that don't want to go out there and reinvent the wheel, that can plug into your franchise, that are just kicking ass. And I know a lot of them personally that are franchise owners of first class real estate right now, and they're just slaying it. So if people want to get in touch with you, if they have questions about maybe opportunities that you have and so forth, where's the best place to do all that at?
Man, the best place, I don't know, probably an email. So I know it's normally probably in the link, but Ryan at firstclassagents.com, happy to help any way I can. The number one, stclassagents.com. So Ryan at firstclassagents.com is normally, everybody that's going to watch this normally is going to be on Facebook. I answer Facebook Messenger pretty quick too. So, I love to help. Anything I can do to help, I'm happy to.
Awesome. Love it. And one question just to come in from Kyle Powers. So what are you thinking is a good place to focus, if not REOs, just continue business as normal? What I'd say, Kyle, you probably jumped on recently. We answered that in depth. And this recording, as soon as we hang up here in just a second, this recording will be in the Facebook group. So I just started over from fresh. Like, we went extremely deep into that what to be focused on right now, how to adapt, what to do, what we're both doing, all of that. So that answer is in there for you, my friend. And again, you guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. As always, we truly appreciate your support. And Ryan, as always, man, it's an honor to have you as a friend, honor to have you as a mentor. And I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here, dude.
Thanks for having me. I love this stuff. Thanks, man.
Yep, 100%. All right, you guys, we will see you next time. Peace.